Hey everyone, welcome to the AI Amigos show. My name is James. I'm here with my good friend Jin Chao. How are you, Jin Chao?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you getting on, James?
A little bit wet here in Dublin. It's been raining a lot. I don't know about how it is over in your neck of the woods in Letterkenny.
Yeah. Give me here is like 20 minutes. I'd be changing to my swimming shorts and be
Well, I can go outside in my swimming shorts, but it's going to be cold. Yeah, we
well. That's the code dip. Is that called? Yeah, it's good
yeah,
for
the
you.
cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you. Actually, it's actually nice. I tried it up there in Donegal. It's actually nice.
Uh-huh.
So we have a really packed segment today, or show today, Jin Chao, and I'm really
Yeah.
excited about some of the stuff because it's just about agents. But before we get started, I want to talk about Tequila AI. Remember, we're sponsored by Tequila AI. So for you guys
Mhm.
looking for AI solutions, Tequila AI is the solution there. So we are sponsored by them.
Yep.
But the news this week in AI, it says every major story was about the same thing: agents, not chatbots, not AI assistants, but agents, actual autonomous systems that do things. And this week we saw that play out in five directions simultaneously: hardware, finance, developer tools, and then labor, and the first time ever, crime. Go believe now. Who's going to go to jail? Someone's got to go to jail.
Yeah. Definitely.
So this is what
Um.
I'm calling the agent week.
Yeah. And just for our audience, I'm not sure how many people understand what really agent is for like AI, why we need it and all that. I think we should spend tiny bit time to actually explain that a little bit. Why we need agents or what does it do, and then also the little concept of you heard the word a lot called harness engineering.
Yep.
This is really related to AI, right? In short, let me explain 1 minute if I can do that. I needed to speed up, right? So
Okay.
at
We
the
got some time.
yeah,
Take your time.
at the beginning when we're doing we heard the words prompt engineering quite a lot, so everyone been adjusting their prompts to get better results and more, and what we find out is it doesn't has the context of what you wanted to ask, and then there's more system of rag system and all that. You bring in the context more and more, because that time the model, the window get bigger and bigger. At like the first bigger window was and Gemini, I think a 2 or 2.5 was the very first one bring in 1 million token context, and that's where it started with context engineering. So you bring more and more context, and then they find out the limits as well. When
Yeah.
you the context window got exhausted, and then that's where you're using cloud code and all that. Every time it's reached the maximum, it compresses compact into smaller summary to carry on. But the problem with that is you lost a lot of the information, and that's where people start to play with harness the power of agents. That's what it is called. Called harness engineering. So the agent basically, if you use Cloud Code or something, you can just use a sub agent to do certain stuff. So it doesn't really um, cost much space on your main conversation. You send it out as a sub agent with, let's say, 1 million context window to do certain task. All you needed to do is bring you the results. So that way you can maintain your main chat very clean and nice. With that's why we see the task list and all that sort of stuff. That's where the agents start really getting popular, because that way you can get your work done with very clear target, and not the AI doesn't lost any memory during the long conversation or long process.
Yeah, well, I mean, the big thing, I mean, like what you're saying is like with that context window, what you're saying is that's where all your usage is going because it's rereading every time you enter a new prompt, it's rereading the whole context again, and it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And
Yeah.
You know,
And
that's
then
why.
even now, if you're using Cloud Code or something, you can do / context window. We start to carefully planning where you store those skills, those MCPs, those agents, right? Because if you store from the root level, from it's loaded every single time, you could have 9, 10, 11, 12% of context window already used just because those preload tools. So yeah.
Well, I mean, I think when you know that's why you got it with tools like Caveman, you know, or to help reduce your usage there. But one
Yeah.
of the things as well is like when we talk about agents, right? Not all agents are autonomous, and that's where like you don't have tools that are autonomous. Like I know that inside of Claude, in the app, they're not autonomous, and they're trying to bring in this routines and loops and things
Mhm.
like that to bring in the autonomy of the agent itself. That so while you're asleep, it's doing some work for you rather than you telling it, "I want you to go look for this," and
Yeah.
have to tell it. It goes and does it.
Well, but that's the funny thing as well. If you're thinking about, like we used to think, oh, make me money when I sleep. So this is cost you money when you sleep.
Yeah, exactly. You wake up in the morning, a big bill. I
Yeah.
mean, and that's why we saw. I mean, one headline this past week was Microsoft stopped using Claude because, and the same thing happened with Uber. They were hitting their token limits. I think they hit Uber hit their entire token limit usage in April. Their token usage for the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
4 months. A third of the time. It's just gone.
Yeah.
So, and we'll be talking a bit more you know about Claude, but yeah, it's a good thing there, Jinchao, to talk about because I think there's a lot of assumptions that everyone knows, like what agents are or agentic,
Yeah.
or there's just
Yeah.
and there's just so much to it because I think the terminologies are thrown around so much. If you stop and
Mhm.
ask somebody, say, "Can you explain to me what an AI agent is?" And
Yeah.
they go like,
Because you needed to know why people start talking about agent, right?
yeah,
Because it can accomplish more with the main why you have a whole bunch of agents with orchestrator sitting in the middle. That's because the main context window it holds there and send it out just exactly the way. Well, I try to use some too. It's quite interesting as well in the large repo. It's called Graphify.
Graphify, yeah.
Yeah, so it basically they use Python code to make your whole code base. They explore your whole code base and become a knowledge graph. So that way, it will save a
Yeah,
lot
it
of
takes
time.
all your PDFs and documents and
Yeah,
MDs and makes
yeah.
them into yeah. I
It,
saw I
it
saw
kind of
that.
yeah, it kind of like the two. If everyone using the Obsidian, Obsidian is basically when you put it in MD file, all that it
All the
created a knowledge graph as well, and people find it really useful when you connect Obsidian to Claude because it have graph knowledge base. It can access information a lot quicker, know the relationship of each nodes and all that. So yeah, seems
Would you
like
say then that it uses less tokens then?
yeah, it does because it doesn't need to explore the
It
whole
gets the
code.
context quickly then.
Yeah, it access knows which area I need to look in, and then it looks. But generally speaking, if you use sub agent, it shouldn't be that much a problem. And people, the word I like to use in Cloud Code now is called, if you see it, it's called fan out agent. It's just a whole bunch of agents going out doing shit. It's pretty fun.
Or swarm. Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
swarm as well.
they,
Yeah,
they even notify you, have you used this fan out agent? And if you use it, it's just doing agent stuff. Yeah.
yeah. And the next thing you know, all your tokens are gone.
Oh yeah. Just don't sleep. When you sleep, it costs more.
Exactly. You wake up, big bill. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, the thing is here, we're talking about agents. Is like agents aren't coming. Agents are here,
Mm-hmm.
and they're here. And this week we saw where we're seeing that we're having hardware for agents, an operating system for them, and the money to fund them, and looking to see the talent to build them. And then we saw the first criminal use of of an agent for a crime. So let's talk about this AI agent that committed a cyber attack this week. No human involved, just the agents. So let's talk about that. So SysDig's threat research team captured the first documented LLM agent-driven intrusion ever recorded, and that was on the 10th of May. So it was an entry point CVE-2026-39987. I didn't memorize that. I'm reading that just in case you were wondering. Sounds like James has got a great memory. No, it's it's a critical remote code execution flaw in Marimo notebooks and one WebSocket request shell on any unpatched server. And so the attacker exploited the Marimo instance, harvested the cloud credentials from the host, and then handed those credentials to an AI agent. And the AI agent queried AWS Secrets Manager, retrieved the SSH private key. Wow, can you imagine how your SSH private key is open? Is out, open 8 parallel SSH sessions against the downstream Bastion server and the database exfiltration. Full Postgres schema and content completed within 2 minutes. 2 minutes. So the total attack chain just over an hour, start to finish. So that is crazy, right?
I think I think the news for this is basically it can automatically attacking system using the exploit or common vulnerability CVE. So when I was in school that days, I was using security like Linux Kali. So if you're using Kali system, one of the way to hacking different system is you're doing a scan. And when you're doing the scan, you find out what vulnerability this system has.
Yeah.
And you can choose that vulnerability, and it would tell you how to what's this vulnerability about, how do you hack it, and you can hit enter and then doing it. It's basically similar, but this is more automatic now. You don't need it to do that.
Yeah, and it wasn't a script. It was the AI that did it. And that's what's like crazy. Like,
Yeah, you have to understand those CVEs is kind of double-edged sword. It tells you what was a vulnerability and why is a vulnerability and how to get into it. It explained it very clearly. So that's those CVE about. That's why when it's come out is major one or really a big one and require business to patch it quickly because information is out there.
Okay, and does that mean like that when they did that, is that beyond like an open port that was somewhere or a patch that was or beyond inside the firewall? Like, how would you say that they got into that? I mean,
so if I remember correctly, way back when I used Kali is we scan a port and then maybe there's a system, let's say Windows XP or something. They will find out how many vulnerability it has. You can choose one to try and do hacking. Most of them, I remember back the days, is PowerShell related, and so you can get into the Windows system. So and it's very easy, and that could be just our lecture giving us some easy stuff to do. You scan through, you see you can choose it. You can choose the CVE and hit enter, and PowerShell start attacking it. That was that. But the CVE, any number you give out is vulnerabilities. It's a double-edged sword for both sides.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the agent read the environment and wrote its own, its own hack, and that's the shift here. So I think, I mean, we'd be seeing, are we going to see agents fighting agents? Meaning, like, people are going to put agents within their organization to try to detect hacks, and when there's a vulnerability, if someone gets in, that it can. If someone's in the system that shouldn't be there, would that be a way to deter, or not deter, but to protect yourself?
Yeah, it really. I know, like, there's a lot of small and medium business doesn't have the money to invest into the security side. And normally, large company will always have a honeypot to lure them in to see how they explore the system.
Yeah,
they call it honeypot. to track it, to study them, and all
I
that.
think that's where they think the goal is, and they find out how they broke it, and then they patch up that.
Yeah, and then the small and medium business, like, there's no financial incentive to do so. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you find someone's CV on a website, why would you want to hack it?
Well, I mean, one thing was that they entered in and they were using the APIs, and I was thinking tokens. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about how much tokens cost right now, and those guys are asleep, and the next morning they're like, "Oh, not only were you hacked, but you've got a 500,000 bill with AWS." You know what I'm saying? So
always prepay your tokens. Don't click with, don't sign up with the credit card.
Yeah, make sure, or you have limits that don't go above that. So now when we talk about how much usage and tokens, we see that Anthropic now has filed for an IPO, and apparently their IPO is going to be $1 trillion.
Jeez.
$1 trillion. That is a really big valuation.
I think that was the goal for Elon Musk as well, for his new company. To SpaceX, he wanted to be like $1 trillion IPO, but it's kind of delayed now. But like $1 trillion, never heard of.
Yeah, it's a whole new world. Yeah.
I remember the days Apple crossed that $1 trillion company, but they are grow into it, right? This is basically IPO. This is crazy.
Yeah, they're like Nvidia, Microsoft. There's a lot of companies that now crossed the $1 trillion market cap. But yeah, as you say, I mean, we remember those days where, I mean, never have we seen it at an IPO, $1 trillion valuation. Like, that's huge, as Trump says.
How many shares would that be of IPO?
Oh, they haven't said how many. I mean, they're not going to release all of them. It says here valuation coming at $965 billion, anchored by $65 billion Series H. Series H closed in late May, so that was what they got the next round of funding. The revenue rate, they said now, and I think they were the first one that came up with profit, which to me, I'm thinking, like, if you see like the likes of I mentioned earlier about Uber and Microsoft getting out, are they is this a one-time profit because people are leaving because they paid all this money? But they ran a revenue of $47 billion, up $10 billion from just the year earlier. But there's no share count or pricing set yet, and timing depends on the SEC review, and of course market conditions. I mean, if the market takes a tumble, and it could be completely different. So we'll see what's going on there. But they've made profit now. They've become profitable. I think they're the first AI company to become profitable.
Yeah, we mentioned in the last show as well. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
it's pretty big. That's why everyone else is copying Claude, right? That's why the GPT go back to Codex and all that. Everyone is doing agentic coding stuff now.
Well, I mean, this 47 billion is, how much of that is, AWS or Google committed spend versus true organic ARR? Like you said earlier about Apple, they organically grew their ARR and they got that valuation. And how much of that is, what's the track record for Anthropic? It's a new company. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, yeah, we'll see. I'm just thinking.
We'll see if they leak another source code then.
Yeah, after they released, they didn't even have to hack them. They gave it away.
Yeah, for free.
Yeah, for free. Nice. They're very nice people over there at Anthropic. Well, on the next item on the agenda that we have here is that Microsoft builds Windows becomes an agent. Yeah. And I know that the RTX computer that they're working with Nvidia. It's going to be a really interesting. I mean, I think you were telling me yesterday. We were talking about this yesterday, you and I, and you were saying something that's around $3,000 or something like that. But it's got what do you call it? 128 gigabytes of
Yeah, that's Jensen wants to kind of like a local LLM, but this is totally different. This is kind of like a change how we use computer anymore,
Yeah.
right? Jensen Huang was very proud of it, to saying like right now what we're doing now, it just using agents to do that. I feel like this is a transition period, right? We still need the Windows because all the SaaS company, all the application runs on Windows and Macs and stuff, right? But I feel like the operation system in between it, we don't need that. You know what I mean? Like when you go on the
It's just too much weight, or there's
yeah, when you go over on the internet, you want information. And when you see the video, you wanted to edit video, right? And later on, we know the Claude and all that agentic tools can, and people will start using it already now. I wanted to edit my video and post the video inside the Claude and edit it, look into the video and edit it for me and find those cuts and all that. Some of them didn't use Adobe at all, you know. So I feel like those is a transition, and those big companies are still making their operation system feel like, oh, it's moving up to date. But I feel like later on we don't need an operation system at all.
it's too slow. So wouldn't they be running those agents locally within the machine itself? It would be the operating system. Would it be
It
fast?
doesn't need to be. Like I still can connect to the cloud running it on
Sure, yeah,
like it is. But like if it's getting cheap enough, sure, we're not running locally. But the memory price isn't cheap at the moment.
Well, that's the problem, right? The hardware that's what I'm trying to think of. The hardware that's going to be to run this is going to be a tough one.
A good example of this would be like, the Google Chromebook, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
people are buying them and for basic tasks. If you're not really using any application, you can just use those, and then like you can further on ask a question: why do you use those? Can you just chat to the the Claude or something, and that's it.
Yeah, well, it's definitely come with Copilot. You know what I mean? So it's definitely coming. I know Copilot is a tool that you could use. I'm not a big fan of Copilot, but I know it's an easy tool to run agents.
Yeah,
you run them visually and run. If you're not doing an N8N or something like that, you can run them inside of there. But again, what are you paying for that? And
yeah,
it'll be interesting. But yeah, it says GitHub Copilot gets a native desktop app.
you can definitely see the start trend of this, right? Maybe here it doesn't seem that much, but if you go into any of those Chinese model, I have to mention Minimax again. If you go into the Minimax, they give you options to launch your agents in their cloud, right? Different agents, OpenClaw in their cloud, and like that could be a computer itself, because like OpenClaw can see some early sign of autonomous OS, right? You can do a lot of things on it. But yeah, I feel in the future we don't need an OS.
Well, I see Llama. You can download Minimax now to your local. You can run it locally, so you don't have to run it in the cloud. So the next part is what to talk about is what I mentioned already: Nvidia's RTX Spark and Surface Laptop Ultra. Basically, that they're going to be first ever processor built for this Computex 2026 that's built for Windows PCs, and the integrated or unified memory. Its unified memory is 128 gigabytes, which that's quite impressive. I mean, like you're talking.
Okay.
Well, sorry. Let me rephrase that. Up to 128. So you're going to pay quite a bit for that. But I mean, if you have 128 gigabytes, I mean, what size of would you expect a 64 billion parameter model that would run on that locally with no issue? I would think so, or maybe.
Probably it depends on the context window it runs.
Yeah. So if it's
You can set up those alarm, adjust your context window. I think there's another application you can run local models and adjust context window. It depends on context window. The bigger the context window, sometimes use more RAM, and then the parameter doesn't really matter that much if you are what's the word, quantize it or something to make it smaller, but you
Yeah.
still have that same amount of parameters. It just gets
the CPU has its own RAM, and then the GPU has its own video RAM, and it's all unified. And the unified means it doesn't have to go somewhere else, right? It's all into one place, and therefore
it's within that chip. That was the reason hardware is so expensive, right? When you go into the Mac, you select 32 to 64. It's like $400, $500. That's why.
Well, I remember, Jinsha, I mean, when you talk about like how expensive it is now, or we're talking about how expensive, I remember it was like in the early 90s. This is telling you how old I am. And I was still in high school, but I remember my friend, his name was Fernando. And we all went to his house because he had a Windows computer. And his dad spent like $2,500 for it, which back then, $2,500 would be a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? So, and if you look at what a desktop costs now, and what we had back then was, I think it had like 64 kilobytes of RAM or something like that. It was like kilobytes. I mean, it was like in today's, it's like it's nothing. You know what I mean? Like we have so much more.
Yeah, 100%. I remember my first computer my parents got me. I spent quite a bit of money as well. And my first GPU card was 1 megabyte. It was 1 megabyte. And then the neighbor downstairs got 2 megabyte. I was like, whoa, it's doubling my megabyte. Imagine.
Was he doubly as wealthy? Is that why? Did he have some double money?
Playing game, playing the Apache kind of 3D like game. We were like, oh, look at the tree! Look at the tree! It's different. So
it was such a simpler time, right? But
now like, geez, can't even compare now.
Well, I mean, does that mean when they come out, are people no longer going to want the Mac Mini because this is going to perform way better than the Mac Mini? I would imagine.
Yeah, the whole Mac Mini thing is because I think like I got Mac Mini as well. Is first for me is Linux system. It's good for developing stuff. A lot of things just a lot easier. I don't really play games, so a lot of people go for the Windows machine because playing games. Mac, it doesn't have that kind of ecosystem. If you wanted to do the same, to buy a 16 gig graphics card, you're talking about the card itself probably costs more than a Mac Mini. If you put the other system together, it's definitely cost more. Mac Mini is because of unified memory, and it really helped. It won't be as fast as GPU, but it actually run as a level it can accept the speed, the token speed. So.
Well, I mean, would you think that now it's more about it acting like a server than a laptop? That's a statement that was made about that. And the reason I'm saying is like I've seen like they're selling these little things where it's a hand like this, and you plug it to your laptop so it doesn't close while the agent is running. It'd be something like that. Would you say?
The Mac, if you're using, like, if you have iPad or something, you can remote desktop to it. You can do whatever with it. It's like the screen is laptop of the Mac Mini. You can do a lot of things with it. So if you have some, Mac is really good of video editing stuff. Is a lot quicker for the price of it. Like
the graphics have always been great on Mac. Always
you just can't beat the price of it. And editing video, even the basic iMovie is a lot faster. On the Mac itself. So I think that's the level of why people choose Mac.
Well, I mean, I've seen like designers and musicians, and they all use Mac because it's good for music. It's good for designing architecture, architects and graphics designers. It's really good for them,
Yeah, it's the software locked in. You just can't move anywhere because that. So
Yeah. Well, the last story we got up on deck here, and we're coming up to half an hour here. Oh, we're at half an hour. So yeah. So interesting conversation though we've been talking about agents. I mean, it's. I think this is really good to break it down a bit and discuss. But the last thing I want to talk about is Meta revolt of employees. So remember they were wanting to track employees where their mouse and then their keystrokes. They wanted to track all of that.
yeah.
And he said they weren't going to use that to fire people or to pays and blah blah blah. They were just going to use it to train the AI to see how people are using computers. And the employees basically didn't like that. So they were going to capture mouse movements, keystrokes, clicks, and screen content. And they were going to train an AI agent to perform computer tasks. And they need examples of how humans actually use computer. And the employees said, no, not going to happen. And guess what? Meta backed down. There was such a big a revolt that they backed down.
That's good.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, I'm thinking about it, like, I wouldn't want, not that I have anything to hide, but, I wouldn't want a company to track what I'm doing or not doing. And
moving around.
Exactly. And the keystrokes and why, why?
Once you get that, you get so many people buying those kind of moving mouse pad. You can put the mouse on and never sleep. Just going around.
And then what happens is this is what they use to train the agents. And the agent will just be doing that.
My agent is dozing 24/7. What's going on? I think there's another news about this as well. It's not Meta. I think I read about it. Some India kind of factory. They ask people to wear the camera on their head to record their hand movement. And then if you don't want to record, they just don't get job there. That's basically trying to learn how they train the AI, how to do the jobs and stuff and all that.
Could they not just use like CCTV, like a camera on people? And
I don't know, maybe need to closer their hands or something like that. That's
isolated feeds.
Yeah, they didn't get back down. And basically, it says if you don't want to put it on, you don't get a job here. So.
Well, that's what we have for today. I want to thank you, Jin Chao. Remember, before we sign off there, Tequila AI, we're sponsored by them. So if you need AI, if you need agents, Tequila AI can take care of that.
If you need a small, medium business, need a consultation, need an idea how to implement AI, looking for them.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And we'll see you guys next week. Thanks, and ciao. See you guys.
Bye now.